Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It was unusual opening for this show, and I apologize for that. However, it's a Ukrainian show with a touch of Russia, China, Iran, and my name is Sasha Star, and our guest today is our man in Kiev, Ivan Kucherenko. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
Hello, Sasha. Hello to everyone. Glad to be here today.
Excellent, Ivan. So, what's now happening in Europe? There is a G7 meetings. Zelensky is there. How is it going? What's the latest, your knowledge?
I think it's going pretty well for Ukraine. Zelensky had already a meeting with the European leaders and with Donald Trump. And what is remarkable that today in the morning, Ukrainian drones attack Moscow.
Yes.
They've damaged the huge oil refinery, which produces like 40% of all gasoline used by cars in Moscow, and the majority of all gasoline used by aircrafts, which are being fueled in Moscow airports. So it's a major strike for Russian transporting capabilities. And from one point, it was some kind of Ukrainian act as for the yesterday cruel Russian attack on Kiev with the huge damages of Ukrainian cultural sites like the major Orthodox monastery in Kiev, Kiev-Pечерsk Lavra, which is almost 1,000 years old. And I've got a video for today about that Russian attack on Kiev, so we can watch it right now.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So let's start with the video.
Mark, are you there?
Mark, play the video, please.
Okay, let's continue maybe later on.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Maybe we'll...
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
Facing another sleepless night due to Russia launching wave after wave of missile and drone attack at the capital especially. What you can see behind me is the Kiev-Pечерsk Lavra, which is one of the holiest sites in all of Ukraine. In fact, the pillar of Christianity in this country, which has been hit directly by a Shahed drone in the holiest part of the church, in the altar. Together with Kiev's St. Sophia Cathedral, this is a UNESCO heritage site and has been one in Ukraine since 1990.
Це головний собор Києво-Печерської лаври, Успенський собор. І, власне, ось ми разом готуємося до святкування 975-ліття Києво-Печерської лаври. Але варвари показують в тому, що для них святині не є головним.
As a consequence of this attack, there are 140,000 people currently in Kiev without electricity. And as for the Pечерsk Lavra, as for the church behind us, there's so much damage that is currently being done by the fire that is raging. We have no idea the exact extent of the damage yet because the majority of the stuff inside of the church is highly flammable wood and paint. And it will only be known how much was destroyed when an evaluation is able to take place.
Незважаючи на задимлення, ми виносили відповідно всю утварь, яка знаходиться всередині церкви, в музеях. Важко гасити пожежу, тому що дуже багато дерев'яних конструкцій. І, відповідно, ви бачите фрески, фарба, яка дуже швидко загорається. Ми за це переживаємо.
What you can see behind me is exactly what Russia means when it says that it is trying to bring a close to the war.
Настояв, когда выкидывал почти знаете,
So right now there are missiles landing in the city center here in Kyiv, which is a despicable act of terrorism. This has been going on for hours now. And this is happening because Russians couldn't celebrate Russia Day. In all seriousness, the reason I'm actually filming this tonight is to show that what Russia is projecting right now is a load of lies. Russia likes to give off the idea right now that it's a country at peace, that it's a country that's very civilized, right? They just had a St. Petersburg conference with Candace Owens, with Andrew Tate, with the who's who of the far right, pretending that they are the bastions of peace. And this is actually what they do, firing missiles into a busy city center, right? Where I'm standing right now is a place where civilians live and work. There is no military targets and there is no reason to fire missiles into a place like this unless your intention is to kill everyday civilians and kill people who are innocent.
Here you can see this fence was bent as a result of the attack, and it basically wrapped the tree around. That's how strong the blast wave was. I'm currently at the Dovzhenko Film Studio, named after the remarkable Ukrainian director and filmmaker Alexander Dovzhenko. And what you see right now is not a movie scene. Last night, Russia struck this studio, one of the oldest film studios in Ukraine. A fire broke out and destroyed the costume workshop, taking with it Ukraine's largest and oldest costume collection, around 100,000 costumes and 3 million individual garments.
На жаль, це було пряме влучання в костюмерний цех, де зберігались костюми, які збирались багатьма поколіннями довженківців, фактично з 50-х років. 900 фільмів кіностудія зняла, і половина костюмів зберігалась саме в цьому цеху. У мене була мрія на 100-річчя через рік зробити дефіле костюмів кіностудії Довженка. Тепер, на жаль, ця мрія ніколи не здійсниться. Але це не все. Ми зараз стоїмо біля історичної будівлі, якій 100 років, офісна будівля дирекції, де, власне, працюють весь персонал кіностудії. Близько 100 працівників. Тут немає жодного вцілілого вікна, тут немає цілих дверей. До самого верху все знищено.
And this was not the only cultural site hit last night. We saw that Kyiv-Pечерськ Lavra, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was also struck in the same attack. Striking these places is an attempt to destroy the memory, history, and soul of the Ukrainian people.
That's horrible, and apparently, Russia has been supported only by one major country in the world, just one. It's United States, with Donald Trump being Putin's friend. He is supporting it, and that's why the war is still going on. The war should have been over quite a while ago, but it's still going on. And the good thing, though, is that Ukraine is slowly taking over. In some cases, not so slowly. In some cases, a little bit slower. But it's taken over. Russians are in a stalemate. They cannot progress anywhere. They have to send 1,000 people a day to be killed to move 1 meter of territory or something. It's laughable. It's despicable. And Putin is... he's probably the biggest criminal, maybe even more so than Hitler, because at least Hitler was, of course, a monster, killing tens of millions of people, but at least he was not trying to harm his own people. Now, Putin is enemy of all people, including his own. And by the way, Kyiv-Pечерськ Lavra, it's very significant for Christianity, not only Ukrainian, but Russian too, because Russian Christianity is coming from Ukrainian Christianity. So they are now destroying their own great objects. It's despicable, Ivan. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and it's some kind of Putin's revenge because the Russian Orthodox, because before that Kiev-Pechersk Lavra belongs to the state, to Ukraine, but the Russian Orthodox priests stationed there, and they owned temporary the Kiev-Pechersk Lavra, but because Russian priests, Russian Orthodox Church supports the Putin invasion to Ukraine, it was a decision of Ukrainian government to remove them.
They're all spies anyway, to me.
Yeah. And the Kiev Pechersk Lavra was transferred to the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and it was kind of a revenge from Putin that his KGB priests were thrown away from the Kiev Pechersk Lavra, and it's. I like words of one of Ukrainian opinion leaders is that Russia is trying to fight the Ukrainian history and the Ukrainian past and destroying Ukrainian history, while Ukraine is destroying the Russian future because with the successful strikes of Ukrainian drones over the Russian oil refineries, on the Russian military facilities, and with all those thousands of Russian soldiers being killed on the battlefield by Ukrainian drones. With each day of this war, the future of Russia is more and more complicated and not so bright. There is no gasoline in majority of Russian regions, even in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and some local governments from Irkutsk region, for instance, they're already complaining that they lack gasoline for the agricultural transport and for growing their seeds. It means that they will have no gasoline to grow their crops. Then it opens a possibility of famine in Russia, and probably some regions of Russia will starve. Of course, it will not about Moscow, because while the Russian government exists and it's very centralized, so they will bring all resources to Moscow, but it opens a great opportunity for destabilization of Russian regions, because they will not. I'm not sure that they want to starve in order for Putin and his supporters in Moscow to have food, while they will not have some food, or while people in Moscow have gasoline to fuel their cars, while some regions not have gasoline to fuel their cars. So it opens a real way of destabilization inside Russia, and I hope that it will lead to the collapse of Russia as an empire, and probably some countries, smaller countries, will appear on the remnants of Russian empire, and it will also prevent Russia from any future aggression against Europe, against Ukraine, against the United States in the future, because if Russian empire will not be empire, if it will just a regular small country, Asian, they will not have just any resources for conducting major military operations.
Yeah, and in any configuration of European the strategy to deal with possible Russian aggression, Ukraine is absolutely incredible, important part of that system. And coming back to Kievo-Pecherska Lavra, okay, so there are three way of thinking of Putin about number one, that Russia and Ukrainian people is the same history, same religion, same so on. If that's the case, why would you destroy Kievo-Pecherskaya Lavra? Doesn't make sense. Okay, theory number two. Theory number two is that eventually Russia will prevail and will win the war. And if that will happen, then why would you destroy Kievo-Pecherskaya Lavra? Actually, you should preserve it, because once you will have a victory and this is yours, and you will bring back all your priests and KGB people and so on. So number three, most likely scenario is that Putin no longer believes that Russia will prevail in this war. So now he is doing what Germans did in Second World War, for example. If you take Warsaw, for example, they completely destroyed Warsaw. 95% of Warsaw was completely destroyed by Hitler. Because by that time, it was 1944, it was obvious that Hitler is losing the war, and once evicted from Poland, he will never get back to Poland again. So, okay, so it's neither yours nor mine. Okay, I'll destroy it. Hell with it. So is that what Putin doing, what Hitler did in 1944?
Yeah, actually in Russia, Putin is doing what Soviet army did starting from 1941, actually, because in Russia is very popular word that don't let anyone get to you. When they cannot control something or keep something, they prefer to destroy it. And a huge number of historical buildings in Kiev, for instance, in other Ukrainian cities was during the Second World War was destroyed not by Hitler army but by Soviet army who was withdrawing, and that and they preferred to destroy it in order for Nazi Germany not to get it. And I think that the third option is the most that's I think that Putin and his close circle, they pretty good understand the present situation and their chances, that they are not advancing on the battlefield anymore, that they're losing more territories than they are able to conquer. According to the results of the May, Ukraine, the balance is positive towards Ukraine. Ukraine was able to increase the number of controlled territories by 100 square meters. It means that somewhere Russian forces are advancing slowly on the Donetsk direction, but Ukraine is able to liberate more territories than Russians are able to conquer, actually, and they have no success on the battlefield, and they actually are refusing to accept the ceasefire and the peace deal on the present front line. And I think that in the meantime, the conditions from Ukraine, they will be much worse for Russians than they were like 1 year ago when Putin met Trump on Alaska, and with all that red carpet circus by involving American soldiers who just light the red carpet for a Russian dictator. So I think that with their understanding of the present and future situation, they're just trying to inflict as more damage to Ukrainian cultural, civilian objects as possible.
Hitler's strategy. he follows exactly Hitler's strategy in Second World War. If it's
Yeah.
not yours, just destroy it.
They're feeding their internal audience using their propagandistic instruments. Like they were destroyed a drone factory while they actually destroyed a costume workshop on a film, on a movie studio, historical costume workshop. But they already broadcasted in their propaganda media that they've destroyed the drone factory in the downtown of Kiev and blah, blah, blah. Come on, there are no drone factories in downtown of Kiev. And the number of drones flying towards Russia is increasing with every day. These drones are already penetrating the Russian air defense. Today, attack on Moscow, where the air defense on Moscow currently is I think the most secure air defense in the world. And the Moscow is, another most secure place in the world is Putin residence on Valdai, because he put there a lot of air defense systems, and air defense of Moscow today was penetrated by Ukrainian drones. They successfully struck the major, one of the major Russian oil refineries, which is critical for supplying Moscow and the Moscow region and Moscow airports with the fuel. Obviously those drones were not built in Kiev downtown. They're being constructed in different Ukrainian places. Very few people know where exactly, and it also shows that Russians don't know where exactly, that their intelligence has not possibilities to define the real Ukrainian weapon producing facilities. They are striking, they are just striking some civilian objects, and then they say to their population that we've destroyed the drone factory.
But they can report to Putin that yes, we destroyed 2 factories, and yesterday another 3. So they're incapable to produce any more drones. So it's West supplying drones. So if we will neutralize the West, Ukrainians will have no drones. On the other hand, Ukrainians are saying that this year alone, they will produce 7 million drones. So Putin has to take some attention to that fact. It's not going to be pretty. Ivan, last question about Crimea. We discussed many times here in the program that Crimea has a very significant space in Russian vocabulary. Remember this Krim Nash ideas and all that stuff. So is Krim still Nash, or is no longer Nash?
It's hard to say, actually, Sasha. Hard to say now, because I'm watching what's happening in Crimea pretty closely, and the news from Crimea are really amazing. A lot of people in Crimea who still living in Crimea and who has pro-Ukrainian views, they are really inspired and waiting for Ukraine to come back to Crimea. They transfer news from here that there is no gasoline at all in Crimea and fuel. The number of food supplies is decreasing. There are like empty shelves in their supermarkets, because it's very hard to deliver those goods to Crimea. And it was not a matter of the Crimean bridge, because Crimea was supplied by different bridges. They've got bridges on the north, which were already destroyed by Ukraine. And the number of tracks which can, some of them were destroyed, some of them severe damaged. The number of tracks which can pass via these bridges is pretty low, and they have a huge traffic jams from tracks delivering oil supplies, weapons, some other supplies, which are easy targets for Ukrainian drones, because Ukraine now fully control the north of Crimea with the drones and all major transport arterias, all roads leading to Crimea. And Russian truck drivers, they refuse to drive their trucks to Crimea, even being offered large sums of money, because it with each day it looks more and more like one-way ticket, because of successful Ukrainian attacks using the middle strike drones with artificial intelligence. They're programmed to detect the fuel tankers, to detect the trucks, actually cargo trucks, military trucks, and attack them in fully autonomous way. And it makes Crimea to get shortage in fuel supplies, in weapons. So I think that in couple of weeks, Crimea would be completely cut off from Russia over occupied territories from the north, and then Russia will have to use the Crimean bridge, which they built, to supply Crimea with fuel and weapons. And I think that Ukraine,
it's too dangerous to use this bridge.
yeah, it's too dangerous, but they will have no other way to supply forces on Crimea, because the supply line from the north would be cut off completely. So they will have to use the Crimean bridge, and I think that it will be the point when Crimean bridge will be destroyed, because to destroy it right now, you will have like 100 missiles and several hundreds of drones, for instance. But if the fuel tracks will go over this bridge, or fuel while the railroad will be transferred over this bridge, then you need like 5 missiles just to destroy that fuel tanks, and they will do the rest of the work. Like it was previously damaged during the previous time when Ukraine destroyed a track on the that successful Ukrainian security service operation, when the track full of explosives just exploded on the bridge while the fuel was transferred over railroad in the same time. And it also you've seen those videos, photos from that, when it was a huge fire on the railroad part, and it made bridge damaged for a very long number of
I think that the railroad over the bridge already is done. They're not using railroads, just cars. Now with cars,
they're using railroads, but only for passenger transfer. They're afraid using railroad for transfer of oil supplies or weapons, because in this case they consider Ukraine will use those trains to destroy the bridge. The same way they're allowing vehicles just like with limits over 5 or 3 tons only to pass the road part of that bridge.
For Russian cars, it's a double problem. One problem is to get to Crimea, but then there's another problem how to get out of Crimea, and you have to use the same bridge, because there will be no other way to get out of Crimea. So in this situation, there is no need for Ukrainians to attack directly Crimea. They can just cut off all supplies and just
Yeah.
patiently wait, and
Yeah.
Crimea will be theirs anyway, simply by default.
Yeah, I think that is the strategy solution. You
Very
don't need to direct attack on Crimea. It's very hard. You just need to make Russia impossible to supply Crimea, and all those forces stationed here, all those million of Russian citizens which they brought to Crimea to populate Crimea with the Russians, while removing Ukrainian citizens, Crimean Tatars from Crimea.
Yeah.
So I think that the way of Crimea back to Ukraine will be like quite peaceful without any shot. Like Russia captured Crimea almost without any shots. Then the same way Crimea will come back to Ukraine without any shot. But,
Russians will say, Крым был наш, а теперь ваш.
yeah.
Like
Please take Crimea back. We
Please
don't
take
have. Yeah.
Maybe Putin will try maybe to sell Crimea to Ukraine. Maybe, okay, just give us a couple of $1 billion at least.
It's a nice strategy to steal something and then to sell it back to the that's
That's right.
rightful owner. Okay.
Nice try. Ivan, our next program is on Friday, and on Fridays there will be a signing of U.S.-Iranian deal, or so-called deal, or whatever it might be. And hopefully you will be able to make it. We'll discuss that as well. Actually, is your opinion the deal will be signed on Friday or not?
It's a very strange war in Iran, so I just cannot make any forecast, because that deal will be signed with the United States and Iran. But what about Israel? Is it part
Israel
of this
said
deal?
they will not get out their armies from Lebanon. They're going to stay there.
Okay, then the war will continue. Then it's it's not so simple.
The problem is that nobody saw the text of the deal. They're discussing the deal. They're talking about the deal, but nobody saw the deal itself. So it's the most unusual situation. Now,
I think that
we will not see it anyway.
Trump or his representatives will just sign a blank piece of sheet, and after that type their own version of the deal, and the Iranian will type their own version of the deal on that blank sheet of paper. And
okay, good luck with that. We'll talk about it on Friday for sure. In the meantime, thank you so much for today's program and the movie. And Slava Ukraini. And we'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.